It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. Visit the website, thegermanyexperience.de, for more information, or email me at info@thegermanyexperience.de if you want to get in touch. I'm your host, Sean, and we're doing this for the 100th time. This is episode 100 of the Germany Experience, and this feels really good. And right now, I have to say thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast, because I'll tell you this, I definitely wouldn't have made 100 episodes if no one was listening. And your feedback and kindness has been what's kept me going. And now, here we are, episode 100. There is no doubt that this podcast has changed my life in many, many different ways. I didn't realize it would when I started it, but it has. I've met so many inspiring and wonderful people through it, for example, and the podcast has made me love Germany even more than I did before. And in fact, the podcast has given me so many memorable moments that I thought I would take this episode, episode 100, to look back at a few of them by playing some clips from some of the episodes of the moments that that just stuck with me. But before we get into the clips, let me start off with one of the things that I love most about my podcast. The annual Advent charity drive that I do with Nicole from the Expat Cast. The fact that I can use this podcast to give back to Germany is so important to me. But this brings me to something I need to talk to you about. We are right now in the middle of this year's charity drive. It's called THREGEPADFO, the third ever Germany Expat Podcasters Advent Donation Face-Off. I'm supporting Kinderlachen, a charity that helps children in need of Germany. But here's what I need to talk to you about. Right now, 2 Advents in, more than halfway through, Nicole, my sworn rival, is winning. So far, I am at 55 euros raised for Kinderlachen, while Nicole has crossed 100 euros. We can't let this happen. If you've been considering donating this year, or you've forgotten, or you didn't know about it until now, I'm asking you right now, pause this podcast and go and donate. Maybe wait for me to tell you the website before you pause it. It's thegermanyexperience.de/charity. Now you can pause it, go and donate. The cause is a really special one to me because helping children who have been dealt a cruel hand is maybe the most important thing that we can do. So go and take a look at thegermanyexperience.de/charity, and you'll find all the details there and get donating. But because this is a rivalry, and I want to try and set Nicole back as much as I can, I have a challenge for her. Nicole, are you listening? I am challenging you to update the song lyrics of a Christmas song to be about THREGEPADFO. And you have to do it this week. So you might be winning with donations, Nicole, but this is about honor. So challenge issued. Nicole, take a listen to the Expat Cast and see if she decides to take up the challenge. Let's see how she handles this. But now it's time to take a look back at some of my favorite moments on this podcast. And one of my first memorable moments actually came off air in a discussion that never made it into the episode. And it was with Anna Schultz from Canada. She was one of the first guests that I reached out to when my podcast still didn't even exist. And she agreed to do the interview. And let me tell you, for that interview with Anna, I was nervous. Here was this woman who'd just done a TEDx talk. I was a guy who hadn't really done anything like this before. And I was terrified for the interview. And in fact, she was also one of the first people I ever interviewed, even though her interview ended up being episode 14. But Anna was really gracious. And after we were done with the interview, we were chatting afterwards. And she said something to me that just boosted my confidence after such an early interview in my podcast activities. Here's what she said.
That was a lovely, lovely interview. You're a very good interviewer. You're gonna have every success at this, I can tell.
And that's it. Just those simple words helped me. Because I remember feeling at that moment, if she believed in me, then I could probably do this. Now, in the early days of the podcast, I was still figuring things out and trying different formats, and I wasn't sure what I actually wanted and how the episodes should be. And then I went to go and interview Shannon from the USA, who's living in Erlangen. Her episode is number 8, called Church Bells and Bicycles. And in a lot of ways, it was her episode that made me realize what kind of stories I wanted on the podcast. One of my most memorable moments is sitting in Shannon's living room on a summer afternoon, her windows open and the birds chattering outside. And then she explained why she loved Germany so much. And I remember thinking, yes, this is perfect. This is the kind of stuff.
I feel so lucky. We'll walk through the park in Nuremberg and we'll be surrounded by people who are grilling fish and making tea on their little grills in the park. And you hear every language being spoken. Yeah. And to me, that gives my life a lot of, it makes my life very rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it colorful. And you just never know what you're going to see. And I will tell you that it was 2 weeks ago, I heard this noise out front and I look out the window and I had only a second to run back and get my camera and run back out after them. But there was a shepherd leading a flock of sheep down the street. It was the most incredible thing. And I will tell you that sheep are really fast because I had to jog to meet them around the corner to get the picture.
And the shepherd must be going like, who is this crazy foreigner that's running after me to get a picture?
I was just relieved she didn't say anything because I would have a hard time explaining exactly what I was doing, chasing her and her sheep around the corner through the park.
Now, one of the things I enjoy about my podcast is whenever my friend and colleague Nina comes on as a guest. She's a German and she's damn funny. And I love all the episodes that she's been on. But one of my most memorable moments with Nina is when she discussed her experiences as a German at the Ausländerbehörde. It was just so great to hear that a German could have just as bad as an experience as us foreigners. It's also very funny, her explanation of what she went through. And it came out as a bonus episode back in February of 2020. Here's a clip of Nina talking about how she went with a foreigner friend of hers to the Ausländerbehörde and came face to face with German bureaucracy.
It's 8:00 in the morning and there's a huge line and I have an appointment. So I'm like, I don't have to stand in this line. And then the security dude is like, today's open day. You have to get in the line. I'm like, I'm not here for the stupid open appointments. I have an appointment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go in. So I go in. I go upstairs. I'm sitting there and my friend shows up and we wait a couple of minutes more, which already made me mad because I had an appointment and they made me wait, but oh well. And we go in there and before I even say like, hello, good morning, the lady she doesn't even look up from her computer. She's just like, oh, you're in the wrong room. And I'm like, no, it said I have to come into this room. Yeah. But they gave like, you have the wrong appointment with the wrong office. I'm like, how can I have the wrong appointment with the wrong... You sent me a letter saying...
It's in the letter, for goodness sake.
Yeah, like I have papers here that says Monday morning, 8:30, be in this office at this time with this documents. Yeah, but this is not the student office. And I'm like, okay. What? Yeah, so I'm like, what do you mean I'm in the wrong office? Like, I have a piece of paper telling me to come here. Well, it looks like something went wrong with the registration because we now have a student office and it seems like there was a computer error. And I'm like, that's not my problem.
Oh, God.
I'm like, well, I didn't fuck this up. It was you.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, you have to make a new appointment. I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm here ready. I have the papers. Yeah. Like, why can't you do it? Well, the student office has to do it. And I'm like, is the process different for a student? No. Do you have to do anything differently for a student? No. Why can't you?
Like, why can't
you do it? Yeah. This isn't the student office. And then I'm about to like go off, being like, well, not my problem that you fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm here. I have the stuff. This was your mistake. So my friend's like grabbing me and she's like in Spanish telling me like, no, we're talking about my right to stay here. Like, chill. I'm like, no, this is not our mistake. They screwed up. They have to fix this now. She's like, no, if you make them mad now, they're going to make this difficult for me. Right. They already made it difficult.
Yeah, it's already difficult. How much more difficult can it get? She's
like, this is normal. Just like live with it. I told you about this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you did.
So this is what everyone's talking about.
This is what everyone's been talking about. So I'm looking at this lady and I'm like, okay, this is Nina. Like, you're talking about another person's life here. You gotta
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, how can we resolve this? So, yeah, you need a new appointment. I'm like, give me a new appointment. No, you can, you're lucky today's like the open appointment day, so you can go downstairs and wait. Or you can go home and give us a call. And I'm like, no, lady, you're asking me to do or sign a document where I tell you I'm able to financially take care of a person. So I have a job to go to. I don't have time to just spend 2 hours waiting for an appointment.
Sure.
And she's like, yeah, well, the other option is to go home and call us. And I'm like, no, I'm here. Give me a new appointment.
I'm standing in front of you.
I'm in front of you.
I'm just a girl standing in front of a woman who wants someone to... Yeah.
And she's like, this is not how it works. And I'm like, yeah, it's how it's working now because I don't have time for this shit. So actually, she gave us a new appointment.
Yeah. Going against every single protocol or rules that they have, probably.
Probably there's no rules
like
or
probably
protocol.
it wasn't in the computer possible
don't care.
To make it
I don't care. I don't care. This is my privilege as a German going there. I'm like, I know how Germany works. You give me this appointment. This appointment is my going to the right office is my birthright.
Now, you probably have noticed that most of my memorable podcast moments come from when guests made me laugh. And one of the people who made me laugh the most in an episode was Natalie Pratt, who'd been a colleague before she decided to move back to the UK. I interviewed her just before she left, and this is her talking about how she won't miss shopping in Germany.
I'm not going to miss supermarkets.
Oh, yeah.
Like, supermarkets here drive me insane.
You'll have someone to pack your bags, right?
So they are, oh my God. Supermarkets in the UK, you have about 200 tills, not the one.
Tills.
What do you call them?
I call them tills too. I think the Americans call them cash registers.
Yeah. Checkouts, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're not like, they've got 2 meters worth of space where you can pack. Not like, I don't know, 30 centimeters or whatever it is, and they're chucking your stuff off the end of the...
You've got like all the space. You can lie on it while you're packing your stuff in.
And sometimes they have people packing your bags. Yeah. They ask you, do you want help packing your bags?
Why? Yes, I do.
This is what I mean. They ask you politely. Yeah. Just an example yesterday in the supermarket, perfect timing for this podcast, I thought, is I went to pay with card, wireless card. Like, so, when you just put the card on there, wireless. Yeah. This is also like amazing in Germany,
NFC
right?
Or whatever,
this is like brand new technology. Yeah. Just, you put your card there and it does it. And anyway, it did it. It beeped. And then this time it came up with, I had to put in my card number or something. And I said, I've never seen this before. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the cashier didn't flinch. She was like, well, you've got to put in your PIN or something. And I was like, okay. And she said, you've got to put it in the machine. Yeah. Right? Didn't kind of make a nice friendly joke to make me feel at ease and be like, technology, know?
No.
No small talk or whatever. Just get it in the hole and put your PIN in. And I was like, all right, lady. Jesus.
You're just a cash assistant. Calm down.
I felt so uncomfortable because I was like, there was people there and I was like taking more time.
It just fills you with anxiety when those moments happen. It is incredible because you're not getting support from this person. No. And they'll never turn to the people behind you going, don't worry, just a second. We just have to sort something out there. It's like she's on their side of the people who are waiting for you.
Oh, wow. I don't know whose side she's on.
She's on her own side.
She's just like, just get it done. It's just not my problem. But yeah, this is the kind of, and I don't know if it's Franconia. I've heard some people say it is, but the lack of friendliness or willingness to help you achieve something. And actually, like, that's the idea of competitive, like competitors. Like, by the way, if you're not friendly to me, I could go to the other shop. Yeah. But like, that just doesn't come into their heads.
No, because they know that the other shop is just as unfriendly.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the same. Doesn't matter.
Where are you going to go, lady?
England.
I'm going to go to a different country. Shopping also provided a memorable moment on the episode that Beth from the USA was on. We got to discussing cashier assistants who clearly had been training for the COVID situation in supermarkets for a long time.
My sister we were talking about that one Christmas while we were back, and I said, yeah, you just don't make small talk with the cashier, and she's like, what? And I go, no, that like if I do that, they're going to look at me like I two heads, or what planet am I from that I would possibly make eye contact and small talk?
No. Their
No,
heads will explode.
Get your groceries in the bag and get out of my space. I mean, under these current circumstances, I can understand that everybody is a little bit like,
on edge. Like, yeah, but
on edge,
I feel like this is the situation they were made for. Like, they've been training for their whole lives for this situation in the supermarkets to get
right.
Don't know as little personal contact as possible. Plexiglass. Thank you. Been asking for this for years. The supermarket cashiers are in shade? Heaven.
Some kind of like curtain or darkening shade would probably be even better for them.
They were.
It is fun to kind of make light of the curtain if you can.
It is, because saying that, I was just thinking, these people are risking their lives every day to go and work at a cashier desk. So my joke, to be clear, was just a joke. Everyone,
thank you. Same here.
I don't want angry letters. I don't want 1-star reviews on Apple Podcasts because I said that the cashiers have been training for this their whole lives. It was just a joke.
I know, it's a joke.
Speaking of Beth, she was on 2 episodes that were a bit emotional in some parts. The first one was talking about how she'd just gone back to the USA for the first time after months of lockdown, and how much she valued that her son appreciated the time with family.
The seeing family was by far the highlight. Yeah. And I asked my son what, you think a 7-year-old might say going to Target or something else was his highlight, but no, it was seeing family.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's important. It's important for Beth's crying. She's wiping her eyes.
And then another episode with Beth, she was discussing her friend Amy moving back to the USA, and Amy had some things to say that also made Beth a bit emotional.
I'm so glad I met Beth, though. Like, even if I had to leave and not get to see her often or ever, hardly, I'm so glad we met.
Oh, guys.
No, stop it.
Stop it. Oh, she's crying. This will be like the second episode she's cried on. Oh my God, Beth is crying. One of my favorite episodes that I've ever done on the podcast was episode 63, Ask a German. My guests were the 3 German hosts of Das Ach, a German podcast about fascinating and humorous stories from history. That whole episode that we did is fantastic. And if you haven't listened to it, you really need to. It's one of my favorites. But in the episode, we got a question about how Germans feel about the situation when a new cashier opens up a queue at the supermarket. And everyone rushes to the new queue in a completely chaotic way with no regard for who was in front of them or behind them. In our discussion about that, we ended up coining a new German word and law, Warteschlange Ungeduldigkeit, or waiting line impatience. Here is that discussion with the 3 hosts of Das Ach.
I 100% agree. I've read that question up front and it was like, yes,
preach, sister.
Yes, exactly. Because it's the absolute thing, like, it's what she said. I go to the supermarket and I leave my distance to the person in front of me, to someone behind me, and someone just walks in front of me and passes me by, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And on the other hand, like, we're often too introverted to really say, like, hey, come on, let's go to the back. Come on, let's queue like a civilized person. No, we stand there and we are enraged, like, into ourselves. And when then someone talks to us, like the cashier lady, you're like, yeah, of course I'm gonna pay with the card. She's like, what's up with the guy? And like, but you have to keep in mind, like, oh, the German eats up all the anger deep inside and then lets it out, like, from time to time to its colleagues, his friends, like, to everyone he or she will meet.
That makes a lot of sense.
I have a follow-up question to my 2 fellow Germans. Do you feel like that could be because that's not really a rule, but a social rule, instead of being like something that could be enforced by law?
Yeah, but in the supermarket, there's just one line, because what I wanted to say is, like, the worst possible situation is if you don't know from which side the queue is. That's the worst ever. Because there are people queuing from the left and from the right, and that it's just civil war. That's just just warfare.
And to be honest, I was in France in a supermarket, and those supermarkets, by the way, they're really awesome. And there was a huge line. I was like, oh God, we're gonna stand there forever. But then I saw, like, this line was moving super fast because there were like 10 cashier booths, and this one big line, like, whoever was up in front, and it was like, oh, this cashier booth is free, went there, Then the next person just went there and like I
going
was
on?
like, why can't we have this? This is beautiful. I want this.
But I would be really hesitant if nobody sees it like her, because I mean we're quite on the same page here, and this is my experience from daily life. So I guess that's a known problem, and many people have been scarred, if you know what I mean. Like I've been betrayed by someone in the queue before. Now I will betray him before he betrays me.
It's like a cycle.
It's like
it's
that.
just a cycle of despair.
We have to break through.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've been to festivals where people knew each other or were very like cool to one another, and there was like super nice discipline in terms of queuing, and it was like, oh my god, it works even with really, really a lot of people.
Right.
It's so nice.
Yeah. It could be nice. We could have something really nice. So come on, Germany. Let's make it an official law. I think that's what we actually need to do. Basically, what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It needs to be an official.
I mean,
law.
in other countries, I would say like, let's start a petition, or like let's pass it on because it's like the goodwill, and we will show people.
No, we need like
where we're in Germany, we need not.
We need police force in the supermarket.
The army,
with tear gas and these water cannons and stuff like that. So that
and we need a word for it, like I don't know, whatever, and
a good
Gesetz. No.
Warteschlangen-Ungeduldigkeit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Warteschlangen-Ungeduldigkeit. That's really great.
I like it. That's the crime.
That's really German.
That's the crime. Now, another one of my favorite moments came from when I interviewed a woman from the USA named Alex. And when we connected for the call, she was holding this really old-fashioned red phone, and I wasn't sure if she was talking to me or someone else over it. And then she explained that it was something she'd found that was zu verschenken, this really old phone. And then she started showing all the things she'd gotten that was zu verschenken, and it turned out to be just about everything in her room. Now, I'm not exactly sure why this is so memorable for me, but I think it's because just of how passionate she was about the concept and how charming it made this German concept of zu verschenken. Here she starts off telling me where she found the red telephone.
This is a pride and joy that I found in beautiful Berlin. Verschenken on the streets, like many things that I find in my room. There's actually that beautiful vase right over there.
Okay, so if you look at the video, you can see there's a vase that was found on the street side. So what happens is people kind of put their stuff out that I think that when they're getting it ready for Sperrmüll or something, they put it on their sidewalks, or they just want to get rid of it and they say zu verschenken, and then you can pick it up. Yeah.
Well, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get rid of things here. That's a different thing. So you just set it outside and it's like zu verschenken. So it's like one man's or woman's or person's, garbage is another's treasure. Even this chair.
Yeah?
Look at this.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. That is an amazing chair.
Yeah. Honestly, I found this vase. I could go on my entire room. The books, that vase too. That frame. I find everything on the streets. I'm not even kidding you.
So you just kind of. I always feel.
We'll
just really?
go to my room. Yeah. I have like a little Nachttisch. It's right over there. That I found that. Half the books I found. I found. We'll get to this later, but my roommates are communists. I live in a Wohngemeinschaft, and I found Das Kapital. So I have got all of Das Kapital right over there.
Wow. Collector's edition, no doubt.
Anyways, so many things. And
many things.
I actually am not allowed to bring things into the house anymore. I have like a little bit of a Schleppverbot into the WG. But yeah, so zu verschenken. It's
self-imposed Schleppverbot or imposed by your roommates?
No, it was a WG decision that Alex had the Schleppverbot.
Alex needs to stop bringing things in from outside.
All the vases I own are like zu verschenken, all the books. Yes. Treasures.
Yeah.
So many treasures.
It looks like it. So if people are just listening to the audio, you need to go to YouTube and you'll see exactly what Alex is talking about. Otherwise, this whole 10 minutes has been pretty meaningless for you. Yeah. But you should go and check the YouTube video, because I'm always too ashamed to go and take that stuff. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like, maybe ashamed's not the way, but I'm like, should I take it? Should I leave it? But of course, you're living proof that you can find some really amazing stuff.
Yeah, so technically I've heard it's illegal to do it, but that's a whole different thing. We don't even have to go into that. But honestly, it's no, I never feel bad. I put my stuff out there sometimes too, and it's like this great feeling of like giving back.
It is, yeah. I can imagine.
Gone. It's gone. It's gone. And then you're like, oh my God, I made somebody happy. And then the box is gone. Hold on. And then we'll stop.
So we're gonna see something else now. Hang on. Let's
look how adorable.
Oh,
look.
There's like describe it for me what you're holding up there.
I'm holding a little gnome.
It's a gnome.
It's a gnome, little red hat. We've got braids in the front, bows at the bottom. I would say maybe about 7 centimeters. The hat is larger than the body, and it's just the cutest little thing. And I use it as a bookend.
All right, so there you go. Also found on the street. That's amazing, Alex.
A more recent moment that I just know is going to be memorable to me for a long time was in the episode with Elizabeth from the USA, which came out just last month in November 2021. Elizabeth and I discussed the tendency of Germans to stare, and then she explains how she just lost it with 2 particular Germans on a Strassenbahn.
This was the time that I was teaching English at In Lingua, and so I lived in Mannheim, and a lot of my classes were in Ludwigshafen, which is across the river. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to get a bike. I can bike there and, save money. So in Ludwigshafen was a Real, where it's a huge chain like grocery store, but they also sell lots of other stuff. So like one week they had a special on bicycles. I was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to get my bike. So I go over there, and then like you buy it, and it's like handlebars are turned around backwards. I was like, well, I can't just ride this home. Okay, well, all right. So I'm going to get on the Strassenbahn. That's what I'm going to do. I was like, oh shit, man. Like, can you get on there with a bike? And I'm like, well, yeah, I think you can. So, like having this whole like internal dialogue of like, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? Well, I can't just walk it home. That's too far. So I was like, okay, all right, get your ticket. Then you could just go like to the very end of the platform, and you just get in the last car, out of everybody's way. And then you just get off. It's only a few stops. It's not too far. So I do that. And it was also not like a busy time. And of course, these dumbasses wait, and they get in the same car that I'm getting on, and they sit right near me.
They can see you've got a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
They can see you've got a bicycle getting on. Right.
And you sit near me. And then they're like, position themselves so they can just stare at me. And, let's be honest, like, this was not the honeymoon phase of my time during that time. I don't remember all of the phases, but it wasn't the honeymoon phase.
Things were starting to take a downturn.
They were. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, why? Just why? Why are you staring at me? And, not a proud moment, Sean, but I lost it.
Yeah.
And
on the tram.
On the tram. And finally I said to the man, so like it was a man and a woman, and there could have been other people with them, but they weren't even sitting together, but they're both staring at me. But he was closest. And so I looked at him, and in German that I don't even know that I could repeat at this moment, but I just said, what are you fucking staring at? And he's like, oh, well, you're not supposed to have a bike on here. And I was like, you know what? How about you mind your own fucking business? And then while you're at it, tell your wife to stop staring at me too.
Just like losing your shit.
Just lost my shit.
I love it.
And then, of course, I had to take it even further because, young Elizabeth just had no refrain. At least now I can kind of take a step back, maybe just walk away. But then I took it a step further, and I even said "du" instead of "sie" because you're going to be "du Arschloch." I mean,
young Elizabeth was having none of that.
She wasn't.
These are just some of my most memorable podcast moments. In fact, it's the ones that I could think of off the top of my head and also easily get clips of, but there's so much more in between, like the meaningful, poignant moments with guests, or talking about the pandemic when it was just starting, or having Nicole from the Expat Cast on many times and actually getting to meet her face to face, or going to Hamburg to meet the host of the History of Germany podcast, Travis J. Dow, and falling in love with Hamburg in the process, or just people getting in touch with me every day to say how much they relate to the podcast. It's been such a special, meaningful 100 episodes. And like I said at the beginning, none of it would matter if you weren't listening. You're listening right now. It means you helped me get to episode 100. So I also want to ask you, what's your most memorable moment on the Germany experience? I would love to hear about that, and I'll read them out on the next episode. Mail them to me at info@thegermanyexperience.de or message me on Instagram. Links to everything are in the show notes. And that's it. 100 episodes done. Next week, episode 101. And we just keep moving along. Thanks for listening. Auf Wiederhören.